Hello and welcome back to the GI Podcast. I am your host, Sid Heeg.
And I'm Toben Racicot.
And today we are joined by Dr. Geneva Smith, who is an incoming postdoctoral fellow here at the University of Waterloo. She previously completed her PhD in software engineering at McMaster University, and her area of research is in increasing player engagement through improved NPC character design by focusing specifically on the realism or believability of emotions. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. I think emotions.
How long was it ago that you actually completed your PhD? Because I know you're relatively recent within the GI ecosystem.
Well, that might be a false statement, but I actually defended May 2nd last year. So,
all right,
yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, because I think we first crossed paths at ICGAN last year, and I think that was April.
That was May.
Oh, that was May. So that would have been, I think, shortly
Yeah.
after.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Like literally still in shock.
Yeah, okay. That sounds more familiar. Excellent. Okay. All right, I'm excited to chat. So where we start with all our guests is essentially the kind of broad question of what was your first experience with games? Card games, board games, video games? Where did all this start?
Okay, well, for most people, I'm sure their family had the standard set of games, Scrabble,
Monopoly.
Yahtzee, Monopoly. God, I hate Monopoly.
Yep.
Uno, poker. But I would say the one that got me completely hooked, line and sinker, was actually Pokemon Snap for the Nintendo 64.
Oh, that's an interesting and very unique choice. Okay. So what about that
Surprising.
game roped you in? We can make the whole hour about that. I'm fine with that. I can
Yeah,
talk for
okay.
now about Pokemon Snap.
Pokemon Snap.
I could do this too. Don't get me started. Okay, well.
We're changing the format.
Okay, that's fine. We'll just talk about Pokemon Snap for an hour.
Sounds good. Well, A, Pokemon, because they're adorable.
Yes, of course.
B, apparently I like taking pictures.
Oh.
So it was interesting, especially because there are secrets. So you would take some pictures, and actually, if you took certain pictures, then things later on in the level would happen. So if you took enough pictures of Lapras, for example, in the beach level, you'd actually get a whole pod of Lapras by the end.
Oh, very cool.
And they were very close. So it was just kind of like combining I like Pokemon, apparently I like taking pictures, I love animals, clearly. So it was also one of the first games I kind of finally wrestled my mom into letting me play. So
I didn't know about the extra pictures thing. I knew you had to use apples to lure Pokemon around, or you had to knock them into. Right, there's an egg you have to knock into the volcano, and Moltres flies out of it.
Yeah.
and You
Yeah.
can
So
cause
intricate.
evolutions to happen and stuff like that. I
Yeah.
didn't know that if you just took certain pictures that other things would trigger. That's super cool.
yeah, no, I don't think at the time I realized that's what's happening because I was just taking pictures of everything. But looking back at it now, it's that should have been kind of obvious because things were clearly different if you did different things. So, yeah, the more you know later on in
The
life.
more you know.
Did you play the new one for Switch?
Oh my God, yes.
Okay, tell me about that one. That one I have not got around to yet.
Okay, so they killed it. I love it so much. It's whatever it was in N64, they took it and they ran with it and they just improved and polished absolutely everything that worked well and just made it bigger.
Cool.
More areas, more Pokemon, more random interactions if you could figure that out.
Okay.
So yeah, yes, 10 out of 10 would recommend.
Because so the 64 one was just Kanto, right?
Yes.
That was even before Gen 2
Oh,
launched.
yeah.
So then what's all in the Switch one? Do you go everywhere?
No, you go to, I can't remember what the area is
What
called.
generation is it?
It's the most recent generation.
Like Scarlet Violet or pre that?
Oh, just
Okay.
Sorry, yes, just before Scarlet
It'd
Violet.
be
Galleon.
Sure. Galera. I want to say Galdera, but that's a
Yeah.
boss in Octopath. That's
I was gonna, somebody listening,
Galdean?
go feel free to tell us what we're missing. I was too busy
it's
taking
the
pictures.
it's the England location,
It's the
Oh,
England
that one.
location.
right?
England,
for Sword
but
and
in
Shield.
Pokemon.
See, this is where I get lost because
Galera.
I could tell you all
Gallery,
about
something
Gen
like
1 and 2, and
I have a
after that I
computer, I
get
can look it
fuzzy. Yeah. Because it will also depend on when it came out.
So is it treated as kind of an open world that you're in just looking for Pokemon, or is it just you're just in this area hunting down with your doing like some bird watching type things.
No, you're still on rails. It's still very much a safari, but they've introduced alternate paths.
Okay.
Galar.
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 I don't think so.
No? It was before that?
I think so, because it would have been based on their development cycle, right?
I don't know. If it's on Switch.
Yep.
There's
Yeah,
Pokemon.
I'm trying to go based on what I can remember the newest Pokemon was, but I can't remember. I mean, the Bouffalant's in there, but I don't know if that helps. But yeah, no, they basically just took what was N64 and then they just polished and tweaked it to near perfection. So if you like N64, then you're gonna love this one.
So let's maybe segue. This might be the easiest thing. Is what aspects of Pokemon fascinate you in relation to your research with like emotions and how NPCs are animated? Because all Pokemon are NPCs.
Yeah, you could look at them that way.
In a way, right?
Yeah, you can look at that. I guess the Pokemon have it a little bit easy in that they can get away with simpler emotions because they are effectively what we'd expect our pets, our farm animals, like wild animals, to be like. So they have a simpler process because they don't, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you view it, they don't have our prefrontal cortex where all the thinking goes.
Right.
So they don't have a lot of the more complex ones that require the reflection.
It's kind of like an interesting idea of like treating these, especially within Pokemon Snap, as like, they're animals if you're going on. So like some sort of like safari or some sort of like tour of like wild animal sanctuary, and you're trying to get these photos of animals in their kind of like quote unquote natural habitat. Like there is a big difference to say between you encountering a domesticated cat versus a feral cat, just because of how they interact with you, how they act around you, and also their body language. Like feral cats, they will just hiss at you. They'll keep their body low to the ground and just like their body language and stuff like that, versus say the more domesticated cat, which may come up towards you like tail fully up, very friendly, just wants to rub up against you. So that's kind of like interesting in terms of what types of believability are we going after in terms of how we replicate animals within these games, especially say like Pokemon.
And I would say the Pokemon got there, or at least they're trying to get there, right? Moving away from pixels. So I'm thinking specifically about the 3DS ones. Have you played the 3DS? So that would be X and Y and whatever. So that became more like Tamagotchi, where it's like a first-person camera, you're playing with toys or something, and they're reacting to that.
I have seen that, yeah.
They do that a bit in Sword and Shield, I think.
I will bet you all the devs have pets, and they just said, what would my pet do here?
Right.
And then put that in.
Okay. All right, so let's pull back a little bit. We'll come back around to the emotion stuff in your specific research. But let's talk about, since Sid brought it up, your history with the GI. So you were a part of Immerse, the grant that the GI was birthed out of. How did you link up with the GI? What was your history or your origin story for connecting with the Games Institute?
That would be all Dr. Kret's fault.
Oh, okay. That's a new name in the histories of the GI.
No, it's not, actually. His name's on the wall.
I'm assuming just from a different institution that we just don't run in with.
Yeah, so he was the head of the G-Scale Lab, McMaster. And the G-Scale Lab was part of the Immerse network.
Excellent, okay.
So the G-Scale Lab, that's where Sasha Sarain is also in, and Noelle Brett. And at the time, Salvatore D'Amore, who moved on to better things, better, brighter things, more to his interest, but he was definitely very much present as part of that.
Okay. Yeah, typically it's Neil or it's Leonard.
Yep.
So that's what I mean is the name you mentioned is
it's probably a different, like a version of the McMaster version of Neil or something like that.
Probably,
yeah, that's probably the most accurate. Yeah.
So what were you like, what was kind of like your journey, like going through like the PhD process at first? What kind of like, I would say, games were you first kind of looking at that kind of inspired you to forward yourself into PhD research?
I will blame Skyrim for this one.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Because I mean, it's become a meme.
Yes,
like,
yes.
It's very obvious to everyone that a lot of the things the characters do just don't make sense.
Well, is that Skyrim or is that just Bethesda?
To be honest, it feels like it's the Bethesda way.
Yeah.
No, it's definitely the Bethesda way, but for some reason it was Skyrim, I think, that everyone really latched onto of how ridiculous is this. And so it's just from there, it's like I believe what it started with is I wanted to do something with game AI, but I couldn't figure out what the heck I wanted to do.
Sure.
And then we were using Skyrim as an example for something, and honestly, I couldn't tell you what happened. Some kind of magic black box poof, and then out came the idea for is like, let's just give them some emotions.
Let's just give them some emotions.
And see what happens.
That's always like so interesting when you're interacting with like different like humans within these larger games. Because not to go back to Red Dead Redemption 2,
No,
but I'll
let's do
go
it.
back
Yeah,
to Red Dead
let's do it.
Redemption 2. It's just it's so different when I'm playing that game versus the other games, say like Far Cry 6 or something like that,
Right.
just because the way they engineered the NPCs in Red Dead 2 are just much more like believable. They're very interactive. Like they do not like it if you're riding behind them on the road because they get extremely paranoid and they're just like, stop following me. Which I'm like, I understand if it's just you two on a road, of course you would also get suspicious of someone trailing you for like who knows how long, right? So that is kind of like interesting in terms of like why we try to like build in these kind of like believabilities in terms of how these like AI function within these worlds and how your character may impact them and stuff like that. Like, do they remember you? Do they know your reputation? Those types of things.
Yeah, I think part of it also works with how we understand how things work. So basically, we interact with the world. We know, for example, if someone's following you and you're the only two on the road, you are going to be a little bit paranoid because I don't know you from Adam. Who knows? I don't know what you're going to do. But then in games, you do that, and it's like, ooh, this is weird. This is a new situation. I don't have any idea of how to deal with this. I have no template prototype to work with for how I should be behaving here. So I think there's the element of it makes it more entertaining, but it also makes it easier to understand in a way. Because if they react in a way that we see in real life, then we'll have a better idea of how to react in the game as well.
So are there some games where that's really noticeable? Like you start in Skyrim, and I imagine Skyrim was probably on the lower end, or does it do a good job in certain places, or is it? No.
Nope. And that's why there's so many memes.
I wonder if it's also just because Skyrim is like it's of its time, you know?
Yeah,
Like the game is came out
2011.
Yep.
so
11,
long.
11, 11.
Yeah, it's a teenager now.
Yeah.
Oh, almost, I guess.
Almost this year.
So was that idea that you latched onto, was that early in your PhD research, or was that like?
That was actually my master's.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I'd say probably out of the time I spent doing my master's, that was probably a third of the way in, where we finally figured out what exactly it is we want to try to look at. And then we spent the rest of the master's basically going, how do we make a mod for Skyrim to try this?
Cool.
And so it's just threw a whole bunch of numbers and variables together to just see what happens. Like, this seems like it could be right. We'll just see what happens.
Did you do all your degrees at McMaster's?
Yeah,
So you have the Triple Crown.
I've got the Triple Crown.
Very nice.
I'm also trying to work towards a triple crown.
Triple Crown, different color of jewels. 'Cause
Yeah.
Yep.
you switch
Yeah.
departments. So probably unlike other guests where when they deal specifically with games, they're looking at it from a humanities standpoint, but you're looking at kind of more stuff behind or under the hood, if you use that, or behind the curtain, whatever kind of metaphor you want to use. So when you just play a game, what is your thought process? Like, what are you looking at? Are you immediately going, oh, I wonder how like this is coded? Or are you looking at, I mean, emotions and graphics because that's kind of your main focus now? Or, what are the things that immediately jump out when you go, wow, this is a good game or a bad game?
Well, ideally, I'm not thinking anything
Oh, that's good.
because I'm trying to like not think about work.
Sure.
But if something does happen, catch my attention for whatever reason, either it's something good or it's something not so great, like I can eat 10 wheels of cheese and nobody notices or cares. That's weird. Then I'll start to go, I wonder how they did that because that's neat. Did they do a hack like they did with the old Game Boy games because they had such a limited memory?
Right.
Did they play around with something in the background, or did they figure out some clever like process to make this work? So that's basically it. It's just I'm just minding my own business until I say, "Ooh, that's neat. I wonder how that works."
Okay, so until there's something that like really catches your attention, it's just
Yeah.
kind of mind off. And then from there, do you dig into it? Like, do you have the means of like ripping out code and looking at stuff, or do you go to YouTube, or is there?
For the most part, no. You can never really look at the code because they don't want you to do
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Even design docs, I think, tend to be under NDA for quite a while until they're certain they have their foothold in. But yeah, no, generally you'll end up looking at YouTube, things like Game Maker's Toolkit,
Right.
just articles perhaps. Maybe you'll find one of the devs has a blog and they talked about it. So yeah, or you can just sit here and go, I'm going to theorize about this. And just find out later whether or not the atom is a blueberry muffin or it's just mostly empty space. So,
Did you find that like a bit difficult in terms of trying to get the necessary materials to like do the theory for your dissertation? Just because like when you were talking about like trying to get these materials from the developers themselves, like as you said, like it's kind of difficult to actually access them to kind of like talk about these more design aspects of it all.
yeah, I didn't really bother because it would be too difficult. What I did do is I just said, I have this idea, so let me play with it. One thing I will give to Bethesda's credit is that they do have their creation kits. So you can,
Yeah.
like you can't see their code, but you can put in your own stuff.
Okay.
Okay, so it's like an understanding through replication. Like
Yeah.
if I put this in and it gets close, I kind of know what it should look like.
Yeah.
So perhaps that answers the question as to why so many people latch on to Skyrim. From like your side of things, is like it has a more Lego aspect to it of like I can kind of build in ways and test it that way rather than just
Oh yeah, people have built entire new sections of a map
right.
and put in new quests and new characters. They fixed glitches
Yeah.
with the creation kit.
Well, yeah, that's
So-
the like actual meme, right? Is that
Yeah.
the players are the ones that actually finish Bethesda games?
Yeah,
Polish
but I mean, to a degree, that's right. But I think for a lot of people, that's also part of the fun. Like they feel like they're part of the process,
Yeah.
creating that game, and that feels good to make something. So, I mean, I don't think they're going to take out that aspect anytime soon, just because it has gotten such like a foothold
Yeah.
in the hearts and minds of their fans.
Especially since it's like we have no idea if they're ever going to release any more like, you know, Elder Scrolls material. You know, might as well just continue on with modding Skyrim to hell and back, you know?
Yeah, somebody will get around to adding another continent.
So let's jump back to the emotion and the engagement factor for your research. So how does subjectivity fit into all of that? And I guess perhaps more specifically, like what are you actually looking for when you do this research?
Okay. So the subjectivity is all in the perception because, as we know, we can look at the exact same event and see completely different things. Like I say red, you say blue. That's just how
The
perception
dress is,
works.
what was the dress? The dress was blue. And
Oh,
yeah.
the Tumblr meme. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Blue and black or gold and white.
Yes.
something like that.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago.
I was there that day when it happened.
I don't remember if I was here or somewhere else. All right, yeah, yes,
Yeah.
perception. Okay.
Yeah. So the perception is subjective because as soon as you introduce people into it, there's going to be subjectivity. That's
Right.
just the way it is. So what you can do, though, is you can create a system that's based as much as you can, grounded as much as you can in how we understand things to work, basically science.
Sure.
So digging into the effect of science and the psychology of how emotions work and basically looking for which of these theories will best help us create this effect that we're looking for. Can we implement it? And then we're going to show it to people and say, it's like, what do you think about this? Basically. And so the subjectivity is in how people see what we've tried to make.
Okay.
That also kind of like makes me think about like if we're trying to do like a lot of the subjectivity and trying to make it as believable as possible, like are we not like basing a lot of our assumptions on the culture that we currently live in? So how do factors of like diversity and inclusion kind of factor into that? Is there any research into that yet?
Oh, no, there's definitely research and there's definitely things to show that emotions are processed and perceived differently based on how you're raised, based on the culture you're in. There is, though, an argument saying that underneath the hood, there's this, we all share the same biological systems, so the foundation is the same. It's more the realization on top, the interpretation and how we express them and understand them that differs between people and cultures. So, yeah, just so that I wouldn't go crazy, I did make a point of saying that mine was for North American people. Because I know if I took it over to, say, we'll go with Japan because I'm a Square Enix stan, they would probably perceive it a lot differently than we do. Like, we can even see it already in our role-playing games versus their role-playing games.
Yeah.
There's very much a different expectation, a different understanding of how things work.
Do you have any examples or favorite examples of very unbelievable emotional reactions from NPCs in Skyrim or other games?
It's probably going to have to be Skyrim.
Sure.
Everything boils down to Skyrim.
guess so.
It really does. Well, if you spend enough time in Skyrim, everything becomes Skyrim, okay? One of the best ones is probably, is it Windhelm? Probably Windhelm. The one where the Stormcloaks are. You go into the Jarl's Keep, and he's literally sitting on his throne, and you can just dance on the table.
Huh.
Knock everything off the table, and he
Right.
doesn't move. He's just like, okay. Everyone's just like, this is fine. This is normal.
That's just it. This is how it is.
Yeah.
This is how it
Yeah.
is in the Jarl's home. You
I'm
know?
trying to remember because it's been a long time since I played Skyrim, so I'm trying to think, like, in Witcher 3, would something like that have happened? Like, would have NPCs got up and done stuff? I think they probably wanted that to happen in something like Cyberpunk. But I'm trying to think, like, where in that genre of games, my familiarity with them, where would it be where, like, that kind of reactivity would enter?
I think
don't know.
Bethesda games are also a special case because they are built to let you do pretty much anything you
Right,
want.
yeah.
And so they can't really account for the range and weird and wacky things people come up with. So they did set up a very difficult, if not impossible, task for themselves, whereas something like The Witcher, which is much more focused on the story, they are much more constrained
Right.
in the kinds of things you can do. Same with games like Mass Effect. It's like you can do certain things because they say you're supposed to be this person and this person does this, so
Right.
we're going to just not even give you these options.
Yeah. Because when I was thinking about this question, I was like, if I had to answer this, it'd probably be in Stardew. When you're rummaging through garbage and someone
They
finds you.
stop looking at me when I'm trying to go through the garbage.
And I was like, I found diamonds in here before. Like, I know what you people throw away, but don't get upset at me for rummaging through your garbage.
You're throwing away good food.
Yeah,
I need that for the
exactly.
mines.
But it's like, it's a very programmed response, right? And it's not like the NPCs. You don't see, I mean, you see like a still portrait of it, so it's different.
It's also like, are they going to remember it afterwards? Because I always find how NPCs and memory kind of
Yeah.
enacts itself is kind of interesting, because if you're going to Red Dead 2 and you rob a store, obviously the same store owner is still going to be there time and time again. In real life, you would be banned forever from going back to there, right? But in the game, they will just have a line of I hope you don't cause trouble this time. So clearly they remember, but you
Yeah.
still need to be able to access the stores as freely as you can. So there has to be some sort of give and take in terms of this is believable until it's video game logic, and you still have to be able to access these things.
Well, there's stopgaps you can do of basically just giving a plausible reason why that's all right. So maybe this is a really out-of-the-way town, and you're one of the only 2 people that ever come to the store. You're literally half of the reason that this store is keeping afloat. Most people, I think, would just go, yeah, okay, makes sense, as opposed to or maybe a different behavior would be he's now going to lock things up. And you can't actually just walk up. You have to walk up to him and ask him for what you want.
Yeah.
That would be a more plausible reason after you've robbed him blind. But I think that's more of you have to think about all the things the player might want to do, and then whether or not your stopgap is going to get in their way, basically, of their ideal experience.
So as you were going through your PhD, were you creating mods? Was your research essentially I'm going to create a mod for Skyrim and then tweak it? Or were you looking at a range of games? I guess what was the research base?
Yeah, so I'd say for the master's was just proof of concept. Is this even worth looking at? Sure. Seriously. So that was where we tried out the Skyrim mod, and we gave it to a couple of people, and they said, yeah, this is interesting. So I was like, all right, we can try this. And then Dr. Kret basically went, all your equations are bogus and garbage.
Oh,
And
no.
I was like, fair. They're built specifically for Skyrim. Fair. So basically the PhD was trying to create ones that weren't bogus
Okay.
and garbage. What we actually came up with instead was a bunch of methods for basically a software development process for creating what I now understand to be computational models of emotion.
Okay, very cool.
So there are more out there that exist that, of course, to my baby researcher self, didn't realize until it was embarrassing. But quite a few of them have been successful for what they set out to do, but they were not very clear on how they came to that particular design, why they made those decisions. And so that was where the PhD went. And it was like, okay, so this is troublesome for us because now we have no idea why you did the things you did. How can we make it easier for people to basically document what they're doing, or at least keep track of, like, here's an important decision, make sure you write it down. And so we came up with some, one method was to figure out what even effective theories to use
Okay.
to start with, to start building your software on. And then another was to build test cases from, well, our example is Elsa from Frozen, but basically, let's take media where we know characters are believable because storytellers have been perfecting their craft for millennia, and turn those into test cases.
Okay. So walk us through the Elsa one. I'm very curious. This is a great example, and probably pretty ubiquitous for listeners too.
Yeah, well, it's the infamous scene where Anna just freezes to death, basically. So you look at the scene, you basically write down all of the observable signals of emotion, so their facial expression, their behavior, what they're saying. Then you basically look at your chart and go, it's like, okay, which emotion is this?
Okay.
And then and as part of the process, you're also trying to reverse engineer how that emotion was elicited. So for in Elsa's case, it was basically she wanted her sister to be safe. She thought she was dangerous, and basically her sister is now frozen to death because of her powers. So that kind of combines into the, like, essentially grief because she thinks she's killed
Right.
her younger sister. And so that we just turned into numbers.
Okay. Great.
We basically said, here's a range of intensities. Like, here's the range that these variables can go. Where do we think it is based on how strong that emotion seems to be in the scene.
Okay.
And so we just put it in a nice little table. And there you go. Boom, test case.
Very cool. So I mean, that's an example of not a video game. Would you take that same process and be like, here's something from another video game, maybe another movie? Would you go to like anime or other genres?
Yeah, I would steer clear of video games just because there's so much variability.
Right.
Like once you introduce the player and their actions, it's kind of difficult to determine with certainty why an NPC or a character is reacting the way they are, unless it's a cutscene, in which case we're back to movies.
True, yeah.
So we're looking at movies. We're basically looking at non-interactive media.
Okay, cool. Very cool.
You know what I just had a vision of when we were having this discussion about, like, in terms of tracking emotion, what now? It's L.A. Noire.
Yeah.
Oh my god. And just, like, I remember when that game, like, came out, and, like, all of the YouTubers I was following at the time were just like, well, we have to do a playthrough of it because that was, you know, the ethos of YouTube. And just going through the game where you have to be able to, like, there's this long moment where you, as a police detective in, like, 1950s LA, is, like, trying to, you know, investigate crimes and murders and stuff. And when you're trying to interrogate, like, witnesses or suspects, you have to look at their face that is trying to morph into some sort of emotion and be able to, like, either call them out in terms of being a liar or just like, oh, I totally believe you. And just the weird way, because I don't think the technology at the time was able to just, like, fully
early 360 days.
Oh, it was so early. And just, like, I think that was, like, an early prototype to what people wanted to do much later on, but it's so memeable now. It's so memeable.
Yeah, 'cause they're all potatoes.
They're all potatoes.
That was a very a valiant, very early attempt at motion capture.
Right.
So like they actually had those were actual actors and actresses. They put mocaps on their face.
Very cool.
And that's why those expressions are the way they are. So I think the problem was really the engine trying to move between them. It's like move between the keyframes, I think, is where they had some trouble.
Cool. Let's talk about AI since we're talking about that stuff.
Oh boy.
Because this is,
Do you
where
wanna-
everything is moving
Yeah,
towards
do you
now.
want to launch this question? please?
Sure. So there's been a lot of questions and considerations of how AI is going to be integrated within the games industry at large. I've already seen like one infamous case of one of the latest Silent Hill editions. It was the
okay.
mobile game. I forget which
Sure.
the name it is, but there was heavy suspicion that and rumors that that game is basically the entire script was like AI, just
Sure.
because of how poorly it was written and the believability of how you're interacting with different characters just doesn't come off well. So, have you done any work or have you been looking into the research at all that's been coming out about how AI can be used to make NPCs feel more like quote unquote human, or is it just we're not exactly there yet for that type of consideration?
I am going to be honest, I don't think we're ever going to be there. It's like asking the AI to make a painting. Like we'd be asking basically something that's not human to be, okay, give us your best impression of a human. Why we might as well just ask the humans at that point.
Right.
Like half of a game is the creative input, and you will never convince me that AI will replace that. I'm sorry, I'm unconvincible on that one. So, I mean, I think AI might have its place. Like, it may be creating some rote scripts, like the technical aspects, maybe automating some of that work. But the creative half of creating games, I think that's going to be exclusively people.
Because it's like it's also just a matter of also like making the dialogue feel like real, like you're actually talking to another person rather than them just standing there like a block waiting for you to interact with them. So that's kind of like interesting in terms of especially like considering the limitations of AI in general and knowing that at some point the system is just going to break down because that's what happens to pretty much every AI that we've created this far. So
Are we sure we want Westworld, though?
this is a great question.
I don't think we want Westworld.
No.
I think I'd rather just read about Westworld, all right?
Just read it as a cautionary tale. Be like, oh, how fun.
So in your introduction, Sid mentioned that you are an incoming postdoc. What are you doing here at the Games Institute?
What a loaded question. What are you doing here?
Besides displaying a wonderful array of Pokemon plushies and stuff at your desk.
I can't help it. I need them. They're so squishable. So I think I've been explaining it as basically taking a step of abstraction up from my PhD work. So the PhD work was focusing on characters and NPCs in particular, but characters are part of stories. So the step up then would be how do we create effective interactive stories or digital narratives? Because stories are powerful things. That's kind of why we've been telling them for so long, and we embed wisdom and knowledge and share experiences that way. So the question is, how can we use that to basically help other people understand someone else's way of life, help them understand different causes, just give them a more visceral, like this hit me in the feels kind of understanding of different causes, climate change, refugees, Palestine as a current one, like just having people understand that. But if we can put them in the story where they actually interact with it, that's going to be already more powerful than just reading about it and reading about it through someone else's interpretation, because you can interact with it and come to your own conclusions, basically. So that's going to be the work, is how do we create these IDNs, interactive digital narratives, to basically encourage what we're calling basically pro-social skills.
Very cool. Have there been any games that have impacted you in that way?
Probably. They probably also traumatized me. So they may have
Still
been
an impact.
Yeah, it was probably blocked from my mind. I'll have to think about that one.
Sure.
What about you, Toben?
I don't know. I don't play games for stories.
Right, you don't. I forgot. Oh my god.
Weirdo.
Yeah, no, I'm the that's
Like I'll say from my personal perspective, like obviously Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah.
But also just in comparison, that like because Red Dead 1 came out 2010. Red Dead 2 as a prequel comes out in Red Dead in 2018.
yeah.
And I felt like that sets up the story and makes the original game so much more tragic in terms of how that game ended. In terms of now it's like, okay, you see John Marstonoff, he made it out of the gang. He's like has a farm, he has his family, he got out. That's good. Makes it so much more tragic where then he's forced back into that life and loses everything.
Yeah.
And then you see his son, who everyone tried so hard to get out of that life, who is completely innocent in all of it, pick up the gun again and enact revenge on the man who killed his father.
Yeah.
And it makes it so much more tragic when you consider it within the context of Red Dead 2. And that just always just kills me so much in terms of like the emotional output that comes of it. And then same too with like Horizon Zero Dawn. I think just the way that game ended in terms of Aloy finding the resting place of where Elizabeth Sobek passed away is, oh my god, just like the emotions that comes out of it in terms of this is what she wanted to find. You have a clip of Elizabeth Sobek playing over in the background, and it just kind of like really brings it up to an emotional peak of like she finally knows where Aloy herself came from,
Right.
and she finally gets to meet her like quote unquote like mother figure,
Right.
which I think is just so interesting in terms of like the emotions that come out of it. So yeah. I would say that's where I get it out from.
Yeah, that's actually interesting because for Horizon Zero Dawn, I took out the cautionary tale of how we're destroying everything. So I'm looking at this and going, it's like, wait a minute. Hold on a minute. I recognize some of these things as, oh, we're in the future. Okay. So this is basically a tale of what will happen if we let corporations build things unchecked. So we could draw that parallel right now to even how, back to AI, how that's being used. And that's like, oh, maybe this isn't such a good thing, and maybe I should be a little bit more aware of this. Another one that came to mind through bits and pieces is basically Assassin's Creed, learning about different places, different people through
that's
different
cool,
periods
yeah.
of time. Actually, the newest one, Mirage, I was very pleasantly surprised and ecstatic. Because they went back to where Assassin's Creed is supposed to be.
Right.
But they're also telling us about Baghdad during the Islamic Golden Age.
Oh, yo.
And we're learning about Islam as well,
Yeah.
which I think is timely,
Yeah.
but also it's a fascinating time for them. Like, they built so much, they came up with so much, then they're so very rarely given credit for here. So it's like, this is fascinating. I love it. I hope they keep actually, like, following that instead of veering off into all these odd directions that I'm not quite sure where we're going. But I hope they actually start to expand that, because I think this is good to expose people to different cultures and different periods and people and time and why they're doing things the way they're doing.
Two came to mind. The first is Final Fantasy X,
Of course.
because I think that's the only game that I've actually shed physical tears
Wow.
at the end of it. And then the other one was Halo Reach. Because that game subverts the typical Halo narrative.
Yeah, it does.
Because is it Kat? Is that the one who has like the robotic
Yeah,
arm?
that's Kat.
When she dies, I was like, oh, this is real.
Oh,
Like,
no.
That's when I started to realize, oh, this is not going to end well.
No, it's not going to end well. And like, I love how that game just increasingly builds up the fact that this is a futile fight.
Yeah.
You are
that
basically trying to
feeling.
do small scale solutions just to evacuate people,
Yeah.
but this is a losing battle.
Yeah.
And it basically ends with everyone that you've met in the game has died. There was no way out for like any of these characters, and they were all going to die, and they're all doomed by the narrative. I love it when stories go in that direction of everyone here is doomed. And there's only one story that's coming out of that, and we just kind of have to watch it play out, and there's nothing that we can actually do about it, which is very interesting.
I love the chunk when, like, obviously when the last mission when it just says survive. I think
Yes.
is kind of this moment where you're like what?
What?
Because
Yeah.
it's so unlike anything before.
Yeah.
But then as you start to take damage and your visor cracks,
Yes.
right? That was such a cool detail.
It was.
And I remember when I was watching Rogue One the first time, and I was like, "Oh, this is we're going to have a happy ending." They got the
no.
the plans out and everything's fine. And then there's probably like 10 minutes left, and I was like, "Wait a second, nobody is going to survive this.
No.
And it's this really interesting thing where like the whole movie you're cheering, and then eventually you just kind of realize, no, this is all for naught. Right? It's really weird in that aspect of it. Did you play Final Fantasy X?
A long time ago.
Okay. You should probably replay it.
I should probably replay it. I played 10-2 to
Ooh.
completion,
Very good.
which is not as bad as people give it
No,
flack
it's
for.
actually pretty fun.
It's actually pretty, like, you have to look at it from the fun aspect.
Yeah.
Like, not all of them can be, like, gut-wrenching, rip your heart out, and, like, stomp on it. No, my favorite's actually 12, because it's actually a very interesting look at grief
Yes.
and how people from two warring nations can both go, this is stupid. Why are we fighting?
Yeah.
And then trying to figure out ways to basically live with each other, because like there's resentment there, but B, figure out how to move forward.
Yeah.
So
Do you want to hear my really weird and convoluted FF12 story?
sure, go for it. Does it involve Fran?
No.
Darn. Okay,
Okay.
but
I mean,
go anyways.
Fran's a good character. I don't think she's my favorite character.
Blasphemy.
So I'd finished FF12 once on the PS4 and was like, yeah, this is okay. It didn't really strike me as anything super amazing. And then I found this YouTube channel, and it's this British guy who does essentially challenge videos of like, how overpowered can we get before certain thresholds in Final Fantasy games? And the one he had for Final Fantasy 12, I was like, I could do this. It's really monotonous and whatever. So essentially you use, it's not a glitch. You use a weird kind of parameter the game sets up, right? Where if you remember in that game, if you're at full health, certain things happen. If you're at low health, like other things happen, right? The game kind of gets harder if you're on low health, which is interesting. So you enter this one zone when you're at critical health, and a very unique enemy will appear. Dustia. Have you ever seen that creature? It's kind of like this big purple ghost. It's probably the easiest way to explain it.
Oh, so like Big Poe from
Essentially,
Zelda.
yeah.
Yep.
And because he's a ghost, he's undead, you can kill it with a phoenix down. And so the way it works is you cast the phoenix down on him, he dies, so that experience comes up, but he's not actually deloaded until his figure like poofs away, you know how they do in that game. So you leave the zone and then you enter it back in and he'll spawn again.
Oh, okay.
So you do that over and over and over, and he gives a ton of experience. So I grinded from level 1 to level 99 in 45 hours doing that. And then I had to figure out the RNG manipulation on Switch to spawn the Seitengrat bow. Do you know that one? Mm-hmm. So I figured that out after like 6 months. So I was super, super, super overpowered, and then I could just kind of breeze through all this stuff. But because I didn't have to worry about combat, I got to really focus on the story. And that's why I think it was interesting is like, typically I don't worry about narrative because it's getting in the way of combat, but because combat was I didn't have to worry about it at all. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to actually enjoy the cutscenes because I'm not trying to just rush back to go and keep fighting. And so it was like this weird emphasis on a part of games that I don't typically focus on to do that. But yeah, FF12 is a fantastic game, and more people should play it, as they should play FF10 as well.
Yeah, FF10 has a lot of fanfare around it. We need more around 12.
That's true. That's fair. Yeah.
7 and 10 get a lot of attention.
Yeah.
Rightly so.
Yeah. I've actually never played 7. I don't get it. I don't understand.
Well, it's
the whole
basically,
shebang.
it's another basically, we're killing the earth.
Right.
This is bad. Why are we doing that?
So many games like that these days. I wonder if there's some sort of messaging that's going into that and be like,
That was
this
in-
is interesting.
98.
Wow.
Yeah.
They've been
that's
calling
really-
attention to this for a long time.
Who knew?
It's like, oh, this big, massive conglomerate energy company is damaging the earth? Ooh, I wonder.
I wonder. Wow, I wonder if that's applicable to real life or something. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe.
Ugh.
So with the postdoc, is it a 1 year, 2 year appointment?
I got 2.
2?
Nice.
Okay. So you're going to spend 2 years doing that. Are you thinking at all about postdoc? Where
Or are you just taking it one day at a time?
yeah. Do you want to teach? Do you want to start consulting to make games? Do you want to,
At the start, we're going to go day by day.
Sure.
But presently, the one thing I think I know for certain is that I want to keep doing some research, no matter where I end up. So that could look like, I suppose consulting could be part of that. It could be an academic position that includes some teaching, because apparently I don't mind teaching too much, which is a little surprising to me, but hey, there you go. Yeah, just basically, as long as there's a bit of research involved, I think I'll be happy.
And do you find, and I keep fixating on this idea of you creating the Skyrim mod, but like, do you do that for other games? Like, do you do modding as a hobby, as part of your skill set?
What spare time?
Sure, that's a good point.
But yeah, that.
So then, would you like to, if you, if you had more time?
Yeah, I think so. It'd
Yeah.
be an interesting way to try some stuff out.
How would you mod Pokemon Snap?
Oh dear. Okay, well, first I'd have to put Dragonair in
Okay, sure.
somewhere. But honestly, I don't think the idea behind that game is so simple. And I mean simple in a good way.
Yep.
Like you are
Well
there.
executed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's simple so that it's really well executed. It's really well polished. They left themselves lots of room to leave those little interactions that if you do the right thing or if you are there at the right time, then they will happen. So really, if I was going to mod it, it would just be to add more icing,
stuff, yeah.
more icing, more cherries. Like, because the game is already, I think, pretty solid. So, mods just to add things that would make me really happy to feature my favorite Pokemon. But like, as a game, needs no more.
Would you mod a game, Sid?
Oh, that's a great question. Oh, I have no idea if I would. Because I don't really, I don't factor that in because I'm just like, I am very happy with what I get, despite even if it's terrible. So
Right.
I'm like, I don't see a need to like mod things.
It's not so much a need as like, I wonder what would happen if I
Yeah.
added this,
It's
or
a
wouldn't this be
curiosity.
cool?
I can see that potentially for like more Stardew Valley stuff in terms of like, what types of characters you can get into. Because I have a friend who
yeah.
has like a Mandalorian mod on top of Skyrim, which is so fascinating just watching them go through this.
That
And I
works.
can see like there's a lot of like fun people can get out of like modding like Stardew in particular, which I find very, very interesting. So that potentially, but yeah.
So to bring this all the way back around, the area that you go to in the Switch Pokemon Snap is the Lentil region.
That's it.
Travel to the islands that make up the Lentil region.
Yeah. Oh, I remember Florio Island.
Yeah, there's a bunch of
That-
stuff. And the professor is not named after a tree. It's Professor Mirror.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm kind of disappointed at that.
Yeah, I kind of glossed over that part. I was just like, show me the Pokemon.
I don't care who you are. It's Pokemon time. I've got my
Yep.
camera at the ready.
Yeah, let's go, let's go.
All right, so then as we conclude, what are you playing these days with your not so spare time?
Well, Assassin's Creed Mirage, which is why I'm just fascinated with everything they're doing with that, because it's also a bit of a tragic story so far.
Yeah.
What was I playing before that? Was playing Kirby in the Forgotten Lands for a
Oh,
while.
that game is so good.
I love Kirby. Yeah, no, I forgot how much of a more of a battle-focused fighting, like Street Fighter type of game it is. It's like, but it's so much fun. I get to
Yeah.
eat all the things. I'm trying to think what other. Oh, Shadow of the Colossus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that one's always a good one. A little bit more on the puzzle side, but man, does it feel good. Sort of, until you remember why you're doing it, and then you go like, oh no, I shouldn't have done that. So.
All right. So now that we've kind of reached the end of our podcast here, thank you so much for joining us. If anyone is interested in following up with you or reaching out to you or potentially just following your updates and research, how can they get a hold of you?
Probably just email for now. I do have a website, but it is under construction and currently still in the McMaster domain, which it's
Ooh.
questionable of how long they will
Yeah.
let it sit there.
Oh, boy.
But probably just email for now,
All right.
and we'll see what happens from there.
All right. Sounds great. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me.